I've been very excited to come here. It's been years since I've been to Asheville, and I like being here because y'all have it all. You know, you have like street crime and woods crime. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the only places in America where a deer could get shot with a Uzi. You know what I mean? Y'all really moving out here. No, it's incredible. I was, last time I was here, we were on the road and we were headed to a show, and there was a dude. Okay, there's no good way to pop out the woods. I'm trying to be fair to him, right? Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know how it could have been better, but there's no good way. This dude, we're passing by in the car, and, things happen fast when you're on the highway and everything, but from far away until I passed him, I see this dude pop out going... And it's so hard to tell if he needed help or if someone else needed help. Do you know what I mean? Like, you either the victim or the assailant, but you looking like you could be equal parts right now. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like his head, like it wasn't like he had an injury or something. He's like, oh, what happened? He looked surprised that there wasn't more woods to run through. This dude popped out of the woods like there was supposed to be more trees. This man popped out of the woods and froze. And my friends and I were just looking at him in the car as we passed. One pointed, and okay. He ran out of the woods as if to be like, oh, I made it, I'm free. Or, damn, they got away. I can't tell which one it was. No, because he was dressed. It wasn't like he was a naked man, but okay, even if you're wearing clothes, there's a certain amount of legs open that make you feel naked to other people. You know what I mean? The fact that he ran out it doesn't matter that I have pants on right now. This is a very naked stance to take. This doesn't look, these aren't regular clothes stances. And so the fact that he ran out of the woods and stopped and was looking around, it's like, you might as well be naked because you're making us a naked amount of uncomfortable, you know? My man busted out of the woods. And, I wasn't next to him. I was in a car, thank God. I was in a car. But you could just tell from looking at him, he breathing heavy, which means he was running in the woods for quite a while. Looking around all low. Why? Just stand up. Like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing to hide behind now. So being this low, legs open, looking around, this is a much more comfortable position to look around in. This man ran out, and we saw him. Okay, so we saw when he busted out of the woods, we were pulling up. So we saw him bust out of the woods, and then one of my friends pointed, and I know he couldn't hear us. I know he couldn't hear us. Like you should know I know that. I know he couldn't hear us, and the windows were up. He couldn't hear us, right? But my friend was like, do you see that guy? And right when he said, do you see that guy? This man, I turned, I looked, and he looked at me. Now, I know I'm in a moving car. He probably just looking in my direction. But I screamed like he was in the car. I wanted to have nothing to do. The fact that this man, I'm lit like this, and then this man, nah. Sometimes it's not the time to smile, Smiling after running out of the woods, I think you are the assailant. I think that But no, it's great to be back. It's great to be back in Asheville with you. Can I tell you a story? When I was a kid, I was walking down the street, and it's funny, man. Art can save your life. It really can. Cause I was walking down the street, and there was this dude right in front of me, right? And I wasn't like too close to him, but I was just basically keeping up pace with him, and we hit a light, and so he stopped, I stopped, and I was just looking around, and I saw a new mural that had been painted, and I don't know, it just fascinated me. I took a second to look at it, and I guess the light had changed, and we had the right of way, and he went off walking, and I was still just staring at it, and then just as I decided that I had taken it in enough, I turned and got ready to take that step off the sidewalk. And then in the middle of the street, this car had, I guess, run a light and was about to run another light, and it hit that guy, the guy that I was right behind, you know? And he's okay, by the way. I mean, he did get hit by a car, but like he's the level of okay that you are years after getting hit by a car. He moved on. Like, he walked away that day. It mostly hit his ass, but like it did graze him in a way that, like, because I was just a couple steps behind him and because I had been keeping pace with him for a whole street, I was like, that would have hit me square. You know? And I mean, they were trying to stop. They had slammed on the brakes. That's actually maybe one of the reasons I turned, because I started hearing the screech and I saw it. Boom. And he got up, but he did bounce. Like it's like if he bounced, I would have flown. I don't know why it is when you get hit by a car, sometimes your shoe fly off. I don't know why people don't tie their shoes tight enough, but like this thing like hit him from behind. He spun and he went up a little bit and his shoe flew right. But his shoe took so little resistance to fly off. Like, it would be different if he had like rolled over the windshield and the shoe flew off after that. But the shoe started flying off before it looked like he was really going in the air. It looked like he had one shoe and one sandal. The shoe was so ready to fly off. Anyway. I still can't get over what happened Sunday at the Super Bowl. I want to be clear about something, right? I watched the Super Bowl not really rooting for any one team, just sort of watching to watch. This is a big event and everything. And the Chiefs lost harder than the Eagles won. I don't know if that sentence makes enough sense, but it, like, at a certain point, I was just like, maybe I could play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not good either. I could get tackled too. Oh, that was rough. That was hard. There was one point where I was watching it and I was like, guys, you want to watch a good game. Like, in my mind, you want to watch a good game, especially when you don't have any loyalty to any team. You just want to watch like a really fun, wow, that's crazy type game. And it was such a thrashing that I was like, y'all, not in front of Taylor. Taylor done shown up and got dressed and everything. And there was one point that they went to Taylor on the camera and they booed Taylor. I was like, what did she do? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing America hates more, apparently, than a woman minding her business. Because even she was like, I couldn't have done anything. But I tell you what, I want somebody to believe in me, to really, truly, from the bottom of their heart, believe in me the way those commentators believed the Chiefs could make a comeback. The things that I was hearing made me feel dumb. I started to feel like I didn't understand football at all the way they were talking. They were talking so wild about, so first 10 points that the Eagles got, they were like, hey, fun little fact for you. Every time the Chiefs win in the Super Bowl, they come from behind. I was like, what's that? Is that, all right. Okay. And then the Eagles scored another touchdown. They were like, well, it's only the first half. Anything could happen next half. It's like, all right. And then they have the halftime show. Then they come back from the halftime show, and then they're asking one of the announcers. They're asking one of the commentators, like, what was the mood like in the locker room for the Chiefs? Like, what was the plan? And the person they were talking to was like, they know. No, they know they like 34, 39, whatever points behind. They were mostly talking about that. They were like, oh, we got to go out there and correct that. That doesn't feel good at all. We got to do the opposite of that next time. Was the general mood in there, was to just be different than they were before. I think there was a little prayer. Yeah, they were in, they were in tough spirits, but they're going to try and make a comeback in this next, because, Taylor's here. We got to do it. And it was the third quarter. Eagles scored again. And the announcers came on, they're like, look, you never want to celebrate too early if you're the Eagles, right? Because you have no idea what these Chiefs could do. You can tell they're just trying to save the ratings as hard as possible to make it seem like there could be this 10-second comeback of 59 points or whatever they need. It was the most insane. I was like, no one has ever believed in me the way that they're like, you never know though. Even when it was the last 5 minutes, they were like, you never want to celebrate too early because that's how you can lose the game even when you are 99 points ahead, okay? It's the hubris that loses games. I'm sitting there like, do I not know how to count? Like, it's too many sevens away. I think they got it. Like, I'm not the best at math, right? I'm not the best at math. I needed a math tutor, and my math, okay, I took, well, I was the algebra, okay. Math is like one of the only things that I really struggle with genuinely, and not like basic math, but math once it gets like conceptual, right? And so I had to take Algebra 1 twice. It's the only class in my life, I think, or maybe there's one other, but like it's one of the only classes I've ever failed and had to take again, right? And so I'd take Algebra 1 twice, and I was so thankful when I finally got like a C after the second time, and then they made me take Algebra 2, and I was like, last I checked, 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know what y'all are trying to do to me, okay? But while I was at Algebra 1, okay, I had 2 math tutors, and one tutor quit. One tutor quit because it was, okay, they were helping me, and then I was basically getting things so wrong that they were questioning. They had to get away from me before they didn't know algebra anymore. And so then I knew I was bad. I knew that algebra was like never going to be in my job description because my second tutor, there was one time we were working on a problem and she stopped herself just short of fully saying it, but she saw me struggling so hard. This woman almost said, sound it out. And And she stopped herself, but you could tell, like, beneath the surface, there was this thing of like, I don't even know how to help right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I hate when people look at the efforts of like elite athletes as if they're not all incredible. The Kansas City Chiefs are good. They were just bad that day against the Eagles. I throw a football like I just got an arm. So I'm not going to be over here judging too harshly, right? It's just the way that they fought so hard. Oh no, they can pull it out. Trust me. They can do it. You know? And then my friend shared a theory with me. This was crazy. This dude told me, I was talking to my buddy David, and David said, because I told him the thing I just told you, right? I was like, I've never seen a game like that where they've tried to make it seem so even the whole time, even though the numbers were on the screen. And my buddy David said that Tom Brady was one of the ones really pushing that narrative, and he thinks that it was because Tom Brady is jaded from the fact that off of this potential three-peat, people are already calling Patrick Mahomes like a GOAT, like putting him in that conversation. And so they're like, they're basically lifting up Patrick Mahomes very quickly and very young, very like, you could even maybe say a little early in his career for the GOAT conversation. And then Tom Brady, who's obsessed with the game and gave so much of his life to it, sees that and feels some type of way. And so he was basically telling me that every time they did that, that was actually just Tom Brady digging in. And I watched some of it again, and I think he might be right. Because it was coming off hella sassy when you watch it back with that context. Like when you see Tom Brady commentating on the game, he's like, yeah, Mahomes. I mean, you never know with these Kansas City Chiefs and how good Mahomes is. Maybe he can come back from 30 points. I mean, maybe he's just that good. We don't know, right? A lot of people are calling him the GOAT. I mean, not today, but a lot of people are calling him the GOAT. So maybe he could do it. Interesting strategy, getting sacked again. I've never seen anything, but this Patrick, he's good. He's very good. He's probably used this as a strategy to lose by so many points in the first half that he really comes back in the second half. Because he can, because he's Patrick Mahomes. You know, back when I was playing, I tried to not get sacked, but I guess if I had been sacked more and then won after that, people would be more impressed, but it's... And then you had the Super Bowl halftime show. By Kendrick Lamar. This was crazy because, okay, everyone has their opinions about it, right? But I know when I was watching it and it started, and I saw Samuel L. Jackson. I saw Samuel Jackson, camera goes over to Samuel Jackson. He's like, it's your uncle, Sam. And I was like, oh, we had already started. That was dope. That was dope to have Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam was dope. Because one thing is obviously the little like wink wink, cute thing, right? But one thing that Kendrick is incredible at doing, something I haven't seen people really be able to do, whether it's through music or imagery, is layers to a story. And there's multiple layers to everything that happened, right? Samuel Jackson is playing Uncle Sam in Body of America, welcoming us to the Great American Game. The Great American Game is in the game of Kendrick's life that's about to play out, right? That's why we see the PlayStation controller on the football field, the game as in football, and the game as in the thing that we're all in, the thing that we all play. Whether you feel like you're playing it or not, you're a part of it. You know? And one thing you have to watch out, because Kendrick leaves these Easter eggs and stuff like that, you also can read so deep into it, you go off on a deep end where if you were able to talk to Kendrick, he would be like, nah. The internet is full of them. The internet is full of like, yeah, so then he had these dancers come out in red, white, and blue because Drake, because he beat Drake blue, and then you gonna see red because we beat him so much that the red comes out and Drake is white. Like, I think that's a very misguided take. But you can get there. It's very easy to get there. You start searching, hunting, trying to read into every little thing. And if you're not careful, yeah, you go off on some deep end. That's not what anybody intended, you know? And this dude says it because that's the other thing. He sets you up with some pretty fire lines that make you start digging. He specifically says, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So now even I'm digging. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, the Louvre. All right. Drake is Canadian, French Canadian, the Louvre. Yeah, French Canadian, the Louvre, like in France where they keep the art. But Drake's not an artist, no. No, that might not be it. That might be, that was dumb, my bad. And so he does the snippet, some people are calling it bodies, and then he does Squabble Up, and out of nowhere, after Squabble Up, Samuel L. Jackson comes out again, no. Too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. One of the things that if you've been black in America at any point you've heard about yourself, whether you overheard it from people talking behind your back or it was told to your face, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto, there's something wrong with you just being yourself. You know? And it's delivered by Uncle Sam. Right? I don't know, when I go to like a new place, one time my friend was asking me, because I travel so much, he's like, how do you know how racist a place is when you go there? You know, don't you think about it? I was like, yeah, I think about it. You know, if you're black and you travel America, you think about it a little bit. And I was like, you know, this is the way that I know. I'll just go to like a West Elm or a Patagonia or or a Lululemon, or I'll just walk in and look around, do a little shopping, and just smile at people. And however long it takes them to smile back is probably how much danger I'm in. You know, you go into Patagonia, you smiling at everybody, hey, and you get a couple smiles back quick. You're like, all right. We're safe. But if you walk into a West Elm and everybody just looking, looking at each other too. No, you say something. Somebody finally approaches. They're like, can I help you? I know we're not staying there tonight. So then this dude, Uncle Sam, Samuel L. Jackson, tells him, tighten up. He asks him, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Do you really know how to navigate? Do you really know what's expected of you? Do you really know what to do next? Then tighten up. And that's a wild conversation to have with someone who maybe even thinks they're helping you, right? Because that's been told to me in different ways by lots of people. Like, tighten up, watch yourself. Don't be too loud, too ghetto, too reckless. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's white people, sure, but sometimes it's older black people that I know that just want you to be safe because they know how the game is played, right? Because I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I'm not exactly a hard individual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. You know what I mean? Not only am I not a hard individual, I remember one time, my mama tried to raise me to be a gentleman. And there was this one time I was in college and I'm working on a group project, and one of our classmates was ready to go to her car, and she was like, "Hey, does anybody mind walking me to my car?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she was like, "Does anybody mind walking us to my car?" I'm not a hard individual. I'm smiling at everybody. Literally, I use the smile test. That's how I know if a place is safe or not. I smile. I make myself open, right? I show I'm no threat. And I even got in trouble with my friends one time because we were walking down the street in Chicago and, made eye contact with this cop. And he was like mourning, just a little passing mourning. And then I didn't realize it came out like this, but apparently I was like, "Officer." I don't remember it like that, but apparently that's how I sounded. My friends were very upset with me. One of them said I said it like I was welcoming him home. I thought I just said, "Officer." Apparently I was like, "Officer." So once again, I'm not a hard individual. So if I've got the speech, if I've got that speech, tighten up. That's too loud. That's too reckless. That's too ghetto. If I got it, damn. There's no end to the game that you can try to play with respectability politics. You can either be yourself or you can't. And if you can't, then to whatever degree that you can't, doesn't really matter. Do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. It goes into Man at the Garden. And Man at the Garden is one of those things. It's a refrain. I deserve it all. All these things, right? And he's on the block. And you see these boys on the block, so black. Gold teeth, dreads, everything. And then they scurry. They see Uncle Sam coming. Uncle Sam walks up. Kendrick's already walked off. And he says, "Oh, you brought your homeboys with you. Okay, little culture cheat code." Turns to the camera and says, "Scorekeeper, deduct 1 life." And some people didn't hear it. Apparently the mixing wasn't great for everybody. So there were some people whose review of Super Bowl halftime was pretty bad, and some people thought they were just being haters. But no, genuinely, depending on where you watched it, depend on the mix that you heard. So there were little things that Kendrick said that either went over people's heads, they didn't quite hear, music was too loud, too soft, whatever. I was watching the Super Bowl halftime on Tubi, and Tubi did incredible. Tubi knocked it out of the park. I was like, man, Tubi was like, this is our chance. We cannot mess this up. A lot of people don't know we exist. And we're literally free. We have to knock this out of the park. And they did, because I heard everything. I saw Samuel Jackson turn, scorekeeper, deduct 1 life. And that thing hit me hard, because that is what happens. That is part of the game. You should know that. That's one of the reasons that it's sometimes scary to stand up. It's scary to be different. Because whenever you build community, they usually deduct 1 life. Whenever you make a movement, They deduct one life. And there are plenty of examples of it happening with black people and black culture, but it is everybody, just so you know. No matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter when you came to this country, try to start a union. It'll and look, it might not be you. They might miss. But it is what happens. Deduct one life. And it's wild to hear Samuel Jackson deliver that line, because Samuel Jackson was an usher at Martin Luther King's funeral. Right? Like, Samuel Jackson used to be way more militant. And I'm not saying he's not now. I'm just saying, like, back in the day, he was about that action. He'd lock you in a room and wait till you came to your senses. So then they go to peekaboo. I don't know, it's just funny to be what Kendrick just played peekaboo. I had to laugh. People have so many theories about peekaboo, about him using Luther and all the stars, SZA coming out, being on the triangle. Like, I'm not acting like I caught every single thing, but I know that when Samuel Jackson pops up again and he says, yes, see, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what America wants. Nice, calm. You're almost there. Don't mess this up. Right? Yeah. Because if we're being honest, that is the truth of the matter. People, even sometimes people who love hip hop, love black people, love anyone different the way that people love those tigers they take pictures with. I don't know if you've ever been on Tinder. But every once in a while on Tinder, there'll be somebody with one of their pictures is just them next to a full-blown tiger, hugging them. And the tiger's sedated as hell. The tiger is over here. And they're over there hugging its neck like they're in the Jungle Book. Like, we have to protect these beautiful animals, all right? We have to preserve their way of life. Oh, shoot him again. Shoot him again with the dart. He looked like he was opening his eyes for a second. So sweet, so gentle. Deep down, they're just gentle creatures. Shoot him again. He moved. That leg. I don't like what that leg doing. Looked like he gonna get up. And that is how people sometimes, prefer their hip hop, prefer their protests. Why can't you just do it sedated? Why can't you just tone it down a notch, right? And then he plays Not Like Us. And people lose their minds. I loved him. I loved him playing it because of what he said when he started it. 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. That's wild. If you really think about those lines in any context outside of the Super Bowl, outside of Drake, the song, Not Like Us, everything, they still stand all on their own. How many of us feel like we're in a rigged game? And it was beautiful to watch Not Like Us get played on that world stage, Drake tried. He tried his best. That dude tried his damnedest. Not only did he try, that dude went to Australia. Not only was he not in America, he was under the earth. This man went under earth to do, to his credit, I'm not acting like he's not a big artist. I'm not acting like he doesn't have an album dropping this weekend. I'm saying like this dude went under the earth to do an arena show just to make sure at least these people aren't watching the Super Bowl. Can you imagine? You go to that Anita Max Win tour. paid extra for tickets. You pretty close, and you get a little curious. Drake on stage. What is that? What is that? Get him out of here. Then, you had that dude. That dude performed Not Like Us. When I was like 2 years ago, I went to visit my friend. Now, my friend had a baby years before that. By the time I met his kid was 5, because we hadn't seen each other a really long time. And cutest kid. It's crazy that my friends are having kids because I can see, you ever see somebody who looks so perfectly like a mix of their parents? You see perfectly both of those people in this new person. And we were supposed to hang out all day, and he went and we were in the kitchen, and he grabbed something for us to drink. And so he had poured himself an almond milk, poured kid something, was like, "Will you want anything?" I was like, "Oh, I'll just take that." And then poured me something. He's like, "I'm gonna just go ahead and get changed. I'll be right back." He goes upstairs, and now it's just me and his kid. And I'm like, "How you doing?" He's like, "I'm good." And it's crazy because he even had I'm just meeting this kid, but he already had my buddy's mannerism. Just that shoulder thing. "I'm good." It's exactly like his dad. "I'm good." It's like, "Oh, okay. You having a good day?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "You excited? I think we're gonna go to the zoo or something." He's like, "Yeah, sure, I'm excited. Be fun, And then he turned around and he knocked my milk over. And this kid had been so sweet up until this point. I was sure it was an accident, right? Until he turned to me and he was like, "I spilled your milk." And when I tell you that thing was imprinted on my memory, I had actually forgotten about it for these 2 years. Until Kendrick said, "Say, Drake." Kendrick Lamar has an incredible smile, but he always seems to use it for dastardly deeds. This man said, "Say, Drake." I haven't been that scared. I know he was talking to Drake, but even I was at home like, ooh. That man whipped around and said, "Say, Drake," like he just ran out of the woods. Oh, that was crazy. That was insane. "Say, Drake." And then you see a glimpse of Serena. I couldn't believe I saw Serena dance. I was like, "Is that Serena?" And Kendrick and Dave Free must have known we wouldn't believe it was Serena, because then they showed her again. I was like, "Well, that is Serena!" That's Serena over there, crip walking. Which, if you pay attention to the layers, you pay attention to the storytelling, one of the most beautiful things about Serena being on stage, crip walking, dancing, right, is not just as a sort of FU to Drake, right? Because it is. Because her and Drake, And then Serena moved on, and Drake couldn't handle it. A lot of people think that Kendrick Lamar is Drake's kryptonite, and he really isn't. Drake's kryptonite is a woman who's moved on. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that Drake hates more than a woman minding her business. And so he would make songs, little sneak disses at Serena, little sneak disses at Rihanna, all this stuff, right? He loves beefing with women who have moved on. The best way I can sum up Drake to me is one time I was in Chicago, and apologies if you've already heard this little quick story, but I was in Chicago and I was sitting on the train, and this woman gets on the train, beautiful, like knockout gorgeous woman, right? And she ended up sitting next to me. And then this other dude gets on the train, and he's sitting across from us, and he tries to holler. You know, he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing, right? Now, this dude, to be fair, was very good looking. He was very good looking. Like when I looked up at him, I was like, oh, you two would make sense. Very good looking dude, put together, everything. And he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing? What you doing? Where you going? How's your night? You know? And then she looks up from her phone and she goes, oh, nah. And I hated that I was sitting next to her because I had to turn all the way around. But she goes, oh, nah. And he just sits there. Sits there for like, maybe 40 seconds. And then train doors open. And he looks at her and he's like, you can't hurt me. And then he got off the train. And that's what a lot of Drake beefs with women feel like to me. Because the layers of Serena Dance is not just like this FU to Drake. Is one, also, we're playing the game, right? We're all part of the game. And it's a black woman having a good time. It was also pre-revolutionary. You know? And if you follow Serena, and if you follow tennis, you'll know that when she did the same dance at Wimbledon, they came for her hard. They said it was too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. And now she's doing it in front of the world. In front of the world with nothing but joy and people cheering her on, right? Giving us full circle moments. I thought that was so dope. You know? I even tried to do it. I hurt myself. I popped right up. I was like, oh, Serena, look. And I think that one of the most revolutionary things you can do is just have joy. Just have a good time. I watch so many people just having fun. I watch people watch it and have fun. That warmed my heart just to see so many people having a good time. I know it wasn't for everybody. I know there were some people that thought it was boring, they didn't like it or whatever. And he said ahead of time, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So it may not be for you, and that's okay. But I watched so many people have such a good time. It was dope, you know? And it's more than fitting. It's a blessing. It's an honor to talk with you about this, about black music, about black joy at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina, a place that in the 60s and 70s had incredible black acts, you know, was sometimes one of the few places that they could get booked, where black-owned radio stations had DJs do party nights. Like, it was great to be here, and I appreciate you having me, you know? I think that for the most part, when I think about the halftime show, and when I rewatch it for the 100th time, And there were so many people that were critical of Kendrick. It should have been more. He should have done more. He should have like gone up there, been more militant. He should have done this, should have done this. And it's like, look, can I just tell you, I'm not trying to be a bummer when I say this, but like everything you've ever watched that ever went out on a broadcast that you thought was revolutionary or you thought was ultra militant was approved for you to see by a corporate lawyer. Like all of it was, you know? In fact, whenever a moment gets through that's not that thing, that person usually faces swift consequences. There are so many people that are like, no, he didn't go far enough. He could have done so much more. And it's like, look, I understand. That's what people are saying. But if you really believe that, if you really believe that he should have done so much more, I can tell you this, art can save your life. Art can absolutely save your life. I believe it from the bottom of my heart. But believe me when I tell you that entertainment will never be your salvation. All right? Art can save your life, but entertainment by and large is escapism. And no one has ever escaped their chains by forgetting they were there. So you cannot, when I tell you, you will not be saved through entertainment alone. Expecting Kendrick to rap so good that Trump is like, I'ma stop. Like, be serious. If you really believe that, if you really believe he didn't go far enough, he didn't do enough, there was so much more he could have done, forget the symbolism, forget the double entendres. He should have spoke plainly. He should have put it all out there. I have great news for you. There are these things called books, all right? There's these things called books, and every revolutionary that the government was scared enough to murder, almost all of them wrote one before they died. And they're so confident that you won't read it, they have it for free at the library. I'm just genuinely, I don't know what to say sometimes when people are like, why didn't he do this? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm not in his head. You know, he's great. You can't expect him to save you. He did an entire album where he said he wasn't our savior. The whole album where he was like, yeah, but I rap. I think it was incredible. I think it was a phenomenal show, especially in a year and a time where there are people that would have Black history disappear. You know, there are people that would have us forget. And I think the only way to stop Black history from going away is to make more of it all the time. Make new history all the time, new moments, you know? Because so many people were like, man, it was so boring, I didn't get it. And it's like, it's the most watched thing right under the moon landing, but I'm sure that was hate watching. You're right. I think that whatever you take away from the performance, if it's art that touched you, that made you feel something, that's good. That's all you can hope for. But if you want like a revolution, if you want change, you're probably gonna have to go outside and get some or make some. That, like, if you want, like, because then, you know, he plays Not Like Us and then we all scream Mustard. DJ Mustard comes out, they're dancing. And one thing I really loved about the performance, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, is that almost always what people will do, the Super Bowl thing to do is go out there and play your hits. Make a medley that reminds us why we love you, right? And this dude, he did some of his hits, but he mostly did this GNX album. He even says it when they start playing TV off. This is GNX. We came here from Compton, California to party with y'all. Master. No. Then the Super Bowl halftime show ends after he hits that TV off, game over, cold, cold stuff. And then they come back. Tom Brady's like, well, let's see if Patrick Mahomes can like really bring it home. Like, he's so good. I've heard he's great. I've heard he's fantastic. So I'm sure he can come back from this 2,000 point deficit. No, for real though. If you want change, art can save you. Entertainment will never be your salvation. And so if you really want to see a different neighborhood, a different country, a different world, you probably gonna have to turn TV off. Have y'all seen the Civil War taking place? All right. If you haven't heard, that's fine. That just means you live in a functional life because what I'm talking about happened on Twitter. Elon Musk came through and was like, hey, we actually really need in America H-1B visas. And these H-1B visas are how people from other countries come here and have, pretty great jobs by some standards. These are like sometimes developing jobs, some of the engineering jobs, and like just stuff of that nature. This isn't like one of your regular visas, and it's not like a visa that we have with a specific country. Like there are E3 visas that we have with places like Australia because they're white. And that's like that's a thing that we have with lots of different countries. So there's a certain amount of visas that are agreements between the countries, and we don't have it with every single country in the world, but even with like Uganda, we might have a few that are these specific visas that Ugandans can get or something, as an example, right? But the H-1Bs have a lot to do with jobs because with your H-1B visa, if you lose your job, right, you have to leave. But Elon is like, these H-1Bs are actually great. And Vivek Ramaswamy is also like, these H-1Bs are fantastic, right? Now, the reason that billionaires like H-1B visas is because people who are very talented from other countries will come, and they're usually, not always, but a lot of times are sending money back to their home country for their family, right? And so they, due to the exchange rate, don't really have the same amount of demands as an American worker. Like an American worker, $100,000, it means something different here than it means to someone coming here, right? $100,000, you might still be like, okay, I'll have a place to live, but I won't be able to do much. I can't take a vacation. If I get hurt, I'm immediately going to go into medical debt because I don't have insurance. Like $100,000 is a lot of money, but you're still thinking about how you're going to move through life as an American, right? But if you're coming from somewhere, especially if you're coming from somewhere where this is the biggest opportunity you've had up until this point, you're thinking $100,000. Okay, look, I can have roommates. I don't care about having roommates. I'll have as many roommates as it takes to keep as much of that $100,000 after taxes that I'm going to keep in my pocket, so that way I can send money home. And the money that I send home due to the exchange rate is fantastic, right? So now I can maybe even retire my parents off of this $100,000, $120,000 job back where I'm from. So when they come over here, they are working these like crazy hours. Like we're talking like 80-hour work weeks, fluctuations, and what the job description is and stuff like that. And they don't complain, because if they complain, they could be fired. And if they get fired, they're immediately deported. They start all over again, right? So that's why Elon and Vivek love H-1B visas. So MAGA as a movement is very upset with this sort of thing, because the whole idea of Trump winning and Elon and Vivek making that Department of Government Efficiency, which is only named that so that it will be called Doge, which is low-key one of the most unserious things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, that was when I was like, oh yeah, we're cooked.
That's very bad. Y'all, if you had gone back 20 years and told somebody that eventually there would be someone, I mean, these are like made up jobs. Like Trump would actually have to do what they say to make them official. Right now, they don't even really exist in theory, right? It's just an idea of what might happen. I mean, who knows now? But like if you went back 20 years and you told someone eventually there would be a government body that only had its name so it could be the acronym CAKE. I'm sure that person 20 years ago would ask, when did all the smart people die? And so Vivek tweets and Elon tweets, and everyone, I don't know, is so mad. Okay, so basically, MAGA sees the H-1B visas as like taking American jobs, and not in a Mexican immigrant way. Not in the way of like, they're coming over here and they're selling fruit. I didn't really want to sell fruit anyway, but like they're selling the fruit. I don't know how I feel about that. It's not like that. It's like, no, LinkedIn is empty. And you're talking about H-1Bs coming over here and getting the jobs that I went to college for. And then Elon basically said, hey, y'all way too stupid to do these jobs, which is so out of pocket. That's so crazy. That, in a weird way, this whole ordeal almost made me feel kind of bad for MAGA as a movement, because when you think about it, a lot of why MAGA started is because, you know, whether you want to put them in quotations as elites or like coastal elites or just people with money, those people for a long time, and this is something that I don't like, that I've seen for a long time, because it's a city rule thing that we do to each other a lot, where there are a lot of city people that look down on like rural people in a rural lifestyle because they're like, oh, you're not educated. But then the people in the rural areas look at city people and they're like, you actually can't keep yourself alive. Do you know what I mean? Like you I know you've read more than me, but like, how do you... Where does water come from? Tell me where water comes from. Oh, the bottle? Oh, okay. Oh, it comes from a bottle. That's cute. All right. You know, because don't get me wrong, as well-educated city people who I've been around, I've lived in lots of different places, and I travel around the country as often as I can, so I do my best to meet everyone so I can understand. I want to have as many pieces of the puzzle as I can to see where people are coming from, how we get places, right? And when I tell you that there are people who I know are very smart, very, very intelligent people, very smart people, but when you tell them that water comes from the ground, they look at you like, well, you must be drinking dirty water, because not my Icelandic, no. Guys, yeah. So Elon basically says y'all are like way too dumb to do these jobs. Like, I've seen your American schools, I've seen your colleges, and your colleges don't even match other countries' high schools. And the sort of general MAGA response to that was like, well, okay, but you agreed with us for the past like 4 or 5 years that the American college system was broken and that it's too woke and that we need to fix it and we need to change things up. And he was like, yeah, but you still dumb. Like that doesn't change. I don't think yeah, I don't like it either, but that doesn't make you smarter that you went to a dumb school. And so then they lose it. And then MAGA was like, oh, okay, I didn't know you felt that way, you South African. Like, it's hard to find a whiter man than Elon Musk. Like no, I mean, like literally and figuratively in a sense, because he's very. Oof. You know what I mean? Like the sun, not a friend, right? But the way they were calling that dude African, just you ever? Because they're like African, but then I'm an African American, and that I've never had racism miss me like the Matrix. That like nearly broke my brain. But they were like, "You African," and I was reading it like, "Oh yeah, that geez. Wow, okay, all right." Elon has the most money in the world, the richest man in the world, and this is how you know that the path to riches is a dead end. Because this man has always had money, and he has more money than anybody. And he plays with different people. Sometimes he's number 2 for like a day. Sometimes he's number 1 for a week. But he's richest man in the world, is safe to say, right? I'm sure somebody can pull me up 4 months from now and be like, actually, this other person. It's like, yeah, for 20 minutes. But like, it's richest person in the world, and he's still deeply, deeply missing everything about what a joyous life is. He's the richest person in the world, right? But out of all of that money that he has, all of the money he has, and he has almost all the money that he has, right? He has a cartoonish amount of money. All the money that he has, he wants nothing more. I can tell you this right now, just from watching his moves, just from watching him talk, just from watching how he's interacted, even in this little spat that he's having. I'm not saying that this is the end of MAGA or something, or that the Republican Party's gonna fall apart. I'm saying that just this glimpse, this dude has all of the money in the world. He can have anything that he wants except acceptance, except like actually being in a room and knowing that everyone wants him in that room. He cannot buy being cool. He cannot buy genuineness. There are always going to be people who love Elon or think Elon's dope because they think that he's a genius, because they think that he is going to help them become like him, or just because he has money. But then when you strip all of that away, I don't know Elon, and I don't necessarily care for much of what he does, but I know a person hurting when I see it. Do you know what I mean? I know like a hurt individual when I see it. And this dude has not stopped tweeting since they call him a South African, since it happened. They have been coming for this dude's neck nonstop. And it's like sometimes I don't know. Sometimes you see something, you're like, oh, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you how I feel about what's happening to Elon right now. And all right. This may just be me, but there's a video online of this guy. This is right when the Popeyes chicken sandwich dropped, okay? And if you remember that was a time to be alive. You would think that Popeyes didn't serve chicken. You would think that something revolutionary was happening because they took the chicken that they already sell and they put 2 buns on either side of that chicken. People ready to fight over this chicken sandwich, and they were running out, not of chicken, of the sandwich, which means they were only running out of bread. And People were losing their minds over it. They could not. What do you mean you want chicken sandwiches? I waited in this line for 5 hours to get this chicken sandwich just to bite a piece of chicken and with bread on either side of it. I've been waiting all day to have this chicken sandwich. Meanwhile, Chick-fil-A was next door being like, y'all, we hear all the time. Like, it's like, nobody wants that right now. I want the Popeyes chicken sandwich. And so there's a video where this guy is, I believe he's in Georgia. He might be in Atlanta, which also makes this thing very poor judgment. But this dude is in Atlanta. He's a white dude, right? And everyone else in the Popeyes is black. And I don't know how long he's been waiting. I don't know why he's so mad, but he's stomping around, right? And he's stomping around and getting in people's faces and stuff. He's like, "Where's my sandwich?" And then finally he goes up to somebody. He's like, "Get out of my way now!" And like it's just going back and forth, right? And then finally his sandwich is ready. He snatches the sandwich. He's like, "Give it to me!" And then he pushes somebody out of the way. And the person filming him is just like, "Oh no." Fast forward like 5 seconds, maybe 10. He's in the parking lot, sort of folded up. Because somebody beat his ass. Because, yeah. And not only are they beating his ass, but he's clearly folded up and sitting down now, and they've still put a hand on his shoulder just to create leverage and are like uppercutting him a couple times, right? And so then after like the second or third uppercut, they walk off with his bag, and the person filming goes, "Oh, y'all ain't gotta take a sandwich though." Which is weirdly, I don't know, which is a very short, but a very poignant, like lesson about racism, or at least how people who experience racism treat the people who are racist towards them, right? Because even in this hateful thing, there's this line that's like, "Oh, okay, but that was enough." Do you know what I mean? And so when there are people who rarely or never experience racism, and it's a new feeling, it's a new type of anger, it's a new type of hurt, they're not gonna know what's enough because they're not practiced in what it feels like to find a level with it. Do you know what I mean? There are things that happen in the world, and they're sick and they're racist, and then it's not something that you can always change or resolve, but you have to move on with your life. You have to live, so you can fight back as best as you can, and you can distance yourself as best you can, create safety as best you can, but that will be out there. So when like someone who is not used to the practice of dealing with that thing feels it for the first time, nothing will ever be enough. And so because nothing is enough, they went after Elon in a way where I was like, "Oh, y'all ain't got to do all that." Because they hurt Elon feeling so bad that this dude went on a burner account on Twitter and join Space. If you don't know what Spaces are, it's where you can talk. It's literally just like this chat room, this like audio chat room where everybody can talk, or just the moderator can talk or whatever. And he went in this audio chat room with a voice modulator and started defending himself with the voice modulator, being like, actually, like Elon, like a good person and stuff, like. Y'all actually being hella out of pocket when it comes to Elon. That's not fair at all what y'all said. And you especially were very rude. And I would say it'd be helpful if y'all would like apologize to Elon, because I don't know him at all, but he seems like a reasonable dude. So if y'all like would chill out, I'm sure he would forgive you and stuff. Like he a cool guy. And I don't know what was said. I do not know what happened, but something was said that was so, I'm assuming, hateful or out of pocket or just wrong that I don't know how this happened. All I know is Elon apparently, because this is all hearsay. I watched the thing and I'm 90% sure it's real, but apparently this dude got so mad he either got his mouth too far from the voice modulator or turned it off, because then this dude in his full Elon voice was like, wait, watch who you talking to right now. Like he fully dropped it. He was like, well, forget y'all too then. I hate everybody in here. Y'all can all go to hell. Because then Vivek also tweets one of the oddest. First of all, it's too long. This is another thing that happened, because as soon as they took that 150 character sort of thing off of Twitter, and it kind of killed the thread of Twitter, because the thread was how you knew you were telling a good story. Like the thread, I've read threads that were 220 parts. Because every part, there was no fat on that story. The whole thing is so insane. And every 140 characters keeps you hooked for the next 140 characters. I've read Twitter threads that should be movies, right? Because you had to use an economy of word. You had to actually be a writer to convey your ideas, and you did it in the long. I was scrolling for the entire afternoon. And even when I got to the end, I was like, damn. And now, you can just do the whole thing. So then Vivek does this whole thing, and he's like, basically, if America wants to win, and if Americans want to win, and by the way, when I say Americans for a little while here, when I say Americans, there's a subtext for everyone talking that they mean white Americans. Just so you know, because sometimes people say Americans, and then well-meaning people go, no, we're all, and I'm like, all right. So Vivek is like, if Americans want to win, then, it comes down to culture. And right now, your culture is trash. It's basically... It's basically a bunch of jocks looking at people who read like they're the dumb ones, even though the jocks are the dumb ones. And we're obsessed with pretty stuff, shiny stuff and everything. And if you pick up some books, and if you do a little less, Instagram, whatever you do, maybe you'll be worth hiring. That's at least how it sounded. And I was not that pressed about the whole Vivek thing. One, because I knew he wasn't talking to me. And two, because I've heard this sort of thing my entire life. No one is more used to this type of condescension than black people. You know what I mean? Because with black people, we're the ones where we're like, hey, I did all the stuff you said to do. I went to the right school, actually got a scholarship. I did the internship, and I am passionate about this field. Can I get a job? And they're like, ah. We already have a black. We already have a black. His name is Mike, because he tricked us. We already have a... Look, we would hire you. But the boss's dumbest cousin needs a job. And so we're going to have to give it to him. But, I don't know, keep applying, and then maybe if Mike dies... we'll need a black, so then you can do it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just a general reality. And so to hear Vivek talk to white people like this was wild. that was so apocryphal because then the comments were all like, but I did all the stuff, and he's like, yeah, no, I know. But you're dumb. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I would never hire you, you know? And he doesn't say that. He doesn't say that exactly, but that's what he implies throughout the whole thing. And then he stops responding because it's thousands of people. But I don't know. There were so many people that came out and they were like, look, what the whole reason that we joined this MAGA movement, the whole reason that we thought Trump being in office was a good thing is because it would mean more good jobs for Americans. And look, if you genuinely believed that, then I don't. You know what I mean? No, I'm not being a dick. I'm saying, like, if you genuinely believe that, then like that's bad. You know how. This happened. This thing happened, and I really I worry sometimes. I think about this a lot, and I think about this with every like topic that I talk about, or any joke I tell or story I decide to talk about. That like I would like to believe that like. I would like to believe that empathy, compassion, and kindness are the way forward and will get us somewhere. I don't know if that's true. I want that to be true. I think if you make your obsessions community, culture, connection, and compassion, then I think that there's a way forward. You know, I don't know if that is right. It might be incorrect. It's what I've chosen my best to do. And I'm a human, so I'm probably going to mess it up a lot. But one thing that happens in my mind, what I think of when I think of MAGA is a story from when I was just getting out of high school. It might have even been my first year of college. No. It was like my second year of college, right? And I was getting off a shift at this restaurant that I worked at, and my friends were picking me up. And when they picked me up, we would hang out on the weekend, you know, all the times that I was back at home, which is where the restaurant that I would work for extra money was. So I would leave college, I'd come back home, work a shift, and then spend the weekend with my friends. And that particular day when they picked me up, I knew I was spending the night at one of their houses. But when they picked me up, they're like, hey, I live in Alexandria at the time. They're like, hey, we're going to, I think we went to Opelousas or Leesville or something, which is like an hour and a half away or a couple hours away. And when I get in the car, they say this. And I'm like, why are we going to Leesville? And my buddy's like, it's a surprise, right? And so then we get all the way over there. Now, my second friend in the car is about to go away to seminary. So I went to a Catholic school for high school, and you know, I actually like treasure it as an experience, not because of any sort of like religious teaching, but because it gave me a little bit more insight into how people think and how the people around me thought about me and about the world, right? But then there were some people that went to the school that were like, yeah, we'll do this forever. And he was one of them. He was like, I'll just be a priest, because that was his track, right? And so then we get to where we're going, and it's a strip club. And so my one buddy had decided that because our second friend was about to go be a priest, he should at least see titty, just to be sure. Just in case. That he should see what they, you know, that they round and beautiful and so. And so then, you know, we go inside, and I'm okay. I'm also like taken aback. Like my friend that's going to seminary is like, actually, I guess I'm going to hell because he's looking around. He's like, right? I'm just generally slightly uncomfortable because I was like a late bloomer, sort of like accepting myself and like accepting my, I guess the way I come off to people and stuff. And so I'm still like this awkward, tight, as soon as I walk in, right? I'm nervous, and he's nervous for like different reasons. He's like, you know what I mean? And so then our buddy who took us, who was driving, buys my friend who's going to seminary lap dance. And so it's not just any lap dance, it's a lap dance in the private room. And so I was like, you gonna give that boy a heart attack, and then he gonna die, and then he gonna be there and then be like, look, I did everything right, but I will say I did die at a strip club. That shouldn't even be on me because I didn't know we were going there. But she started rubbing up on me, and it was too perfect. I thought it was one of your angels, all right? And so then I got excited, and then my left arm started to hurt a little bit, and now I'm here. But that shouldn't even be on me, okay? I didn't drive myself. I didn't do it. And so then, he goes private room, lap dance, and he comes out of the room, a new man. The dude comes out of the room. I don't know what happened in the room. I'm assuming dancing, but this dude walks out of the room like he had to do all the dancing. He walked out the room disheveled. And he goes up to our friend and he's like, do you have money for one more dance? My friend pays for another dance, and he goes back. And, while he's in the room, I had my own journey. Because I was at the strip club, and I was just sipping on a Sprite, because this is back when I still drank soda. I had to quit. It's too spicy. No, it generally burns my chest. Like, it's too much, right? But back in the day, I would hit a Sprite. And so I was sipping all this Sprite, and this one dancer walks by, and she does this thing where she basically, like, massages the back of my neck as she's walking by. But I am not used to being in strip clubs. I'm also not used to people coming on to me. So I thought it was a spider. So And so I thought it was a spider, so I started swinging. And I didn't hit anything, but I still was like... And then later, another dancer came over, and she sat across from me. She was like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. She said, what's your name? I was like, I'm Josh. And she's like, what brought you in today? I was like, oh, my friend, he's gonna go to seminary. And so we brought him here to make sure. I don't really know what the plan is. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a funny story. You're funny. And I was like, I didn't say anything funny. He's like, oh, well, you're kind of cute. And I was like, oh, thank you. So you want to buy me a drink? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Do you want a Sprite? I'm drinking a Sprite. And then she smiled, very sweet smile, and then she got up and pushed her chair in and walked over to some of the other dancers. And she was, I don't know if she knew I could hear her. There was music playing, so I know she was yelling it to let them know, but I was still within earshot when she said, she gets up and she goes to the other lady. She's like, oh, y'all, don't worry. He's slow. Don't. And so then our friend who's going to seminary comes out after the second dance, and whatever happened the first time happened worse the second time, because now he like walking out, but he's sort of holding his arm too, and he's like, do you have money for one more dance? Our buddy gives him money, and he goes in there, and I'm sitting with my buddy who brought him, and he's the only one out of all of us who's like chill in this situation. And like I don't know if he was like a cool guy anyway, but maybe he had just been to strip clubs before, but he was just not fazed. He was just like, oh, I'll get you a drink, yeah. And then our buddy comes out, of the private dance room, and honestly, nothing working. I was worried that he had lost his sight, because he walked out like, do you? And our friend says, I'm sorry, man, but that's all the money that I had. It's probably best that we head home now anyway. And we get in the car. We're headed back. And it's not that long before. It's not like silent. We play a little music and stuff, but nobody's really talking. And then finally, our buddy that's going breaks the silence, and he's like, I don't know if I can go to seminary. In that moment, I had my own dilemma, because I was like, does that shouldn't land on me though? Like I shouldn't. That shouldn't be any of my hell though, because we technically broke he was a pre-priest, but like there's gonna not be a priest now because of what happened tonight. But that's not on me, because I didn't drive us here, and I didn't have a ride. So then and Uber wasn't a thing yet, so I couldn't have gone, and it would have been too expensive anyway. So I was just along for the ride, and now I'm in here, and then he talking about he not gonna. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know. I might have to think about it, because I think Cherry loves me. And I think I love her too. And so when I think about MAGA, it feels like they love this dude, and he thinks, oh, I have their love, I'm good. And they think we love him and he loves us. But he's just up there dancing. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. He is good at dancing. He is. Like when you watch him dance, you're like, that was at least funny, or it was like, oh, it's so weird. But no matter what, no matter how he dances, everybody talks about it. You know, and I think that with Vivek and with Elon, you know, they're real businessmen. And so they think about their business and how to improve it, how to make more money, how to make sure that they have people that aren't going to unionize, aren't going to stir up trouble or anything. And MAGA is genuinely in this place. You don't get to MAGA in a vacuum, you know? Yeah, I mean, I think there's a general social contract and understanding of what America is supposed to be for Americans, and the differences that we have, the way that we butt heads is the interpretation of that contract, right? For some people, that contract is just the Constitution, and they actually like live by it. They're actually like, no, it says this, so we should do this, right? And that's one way to take it. That's fine. And then there are people like me. There are people that at any point in American history have been deemed different or other, that see the contract as something that you might get by happenstance of having money, but is not going to be given to you outright. And then there are white Americans who believe in the contract, and they believe a part of the promise that's like unspoken, which is all of this, you'll have access to all of it. All of this is yours by virtue of you following the rules and doing what you're supposed to do because this is your country. And so when Elon and Vivek, who are not the right white... Do you know what I mean? Because when Elon crossed MAGA, he became a South African real quick. Like that was. And Vivek, I don't know, y'all, bro, you were never in. Like you were never. But when they made these points, and when they gave a lot of that movement what is genuinely some of the hard truth, it's like, all right, if you think college is broken and woke and whatever. If that really is your opinion that you hold, then you do your best to change the thing. You don't throw the thing out. You don't go, guys, I don't like gender studies, so now math is also gay. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't like gender studies, then don't major in gender studies. Like that's a quick and easy path to not have to deal with gender studies. This should just be like, I will just do the And so I don't know how the war is going to end. You know what I mean? I don't, because it's weird. I thought this would take at least until February. Y'all have been phenomenal. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great night. I appreciate you.
Johnson.
It's awesome to be here with you in Calgary. I appreciate y'all so much. It's really great to be here in Canada to get a break. Because when you live in the U.S., you like live there, and it's like all the time. Like you there like every day. Like unless you travel, you there every day. It's all happening all the time. You have the notification on your phone. It's bad. It's every day you wake up, you're like, oh, again. No, it's rough. It's not the best time. It is not great right now. You know, and I'm impressed by you all because you all keep up with your news and our news. Like you know what's going on here, you know what's going on where we are and stuff, and yeah, I know that you're probably concerned because you read the news and it's close. But trust, we are more concerned because of... When I was a kid, this kid, I was just call him Laquan because rhymes with his name. But I always wanted to be really good at like climbing a tree. Like when I was reading stories growing up, some of my favorite characters were like very outdoorsy and they could climb trees real fast and everything. Maybe that'd be half the story was climbing the tree. And I just didn't have the grip. Out of fear of heights, I would just slide down. I didn't have it like that, but Laquan was fast. Was like, up here and just knew like where to put the foot to get the hand, to just had like an awareness of everywhere that his body was, and he was able to get really high. And then one day I was seeing a neighbor. The neighbor was like, "Did you hear about Laquan?" I was like, No, I didn't hear what happened. He was like, "Oh, he fell out of the tree, and basically he got really high, but then a branch snapped, and so he had fallen, and then he bounced a couple times, and then he bounced between branches and just kind of hit every." You ever played pinball? He basically did that all the way down to where the actual final landing was pretty soft because every branch before that really broke his fall from what would have been a dangerous fall was now more of a plop with several lumps all over his body, right? And hearing that story was like painful because the kid that was telling me about it was there. So he was describing it in great detail. He was like, and then he was like, boom, and then he was like, boom, and then there was one branch he hit, he was like, oh! Boom, 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 boom. And hearing it was like jarring, I can only imagine what it would have been like to be Laquan falling out of the tree. And that's what it's kind of like to be in the U.S. as you like hear. So boom, 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 boom. Because I try when I go to different places to read a little bit of their news. I have to admit to you that I am not like so internationally minded all the time that I'm reading everybody's news all the time. I'm mostly focused on the news where I'm at. But in preparation, coming to Canada, I've been coming to Canada off and on for the past 2 weeks, and I've been reading news of the places that I've been going to, and let me just say, truly, it has been so sweet. It has been fundamentally adorable to read and watch your news delivered with such earnestness. As if these are real emergencies. They're not. I guarantee you they're not. To just... the way... Oh, okay. Even today, you know, I went to Montreal, I went to Ottawa, Calgary, and I was in Ottawa, and just watching some local news, reading an article, and it was like a man was pulled over speeding. I mean, where are you off to in such a hurry, buddy? Is the car not enough? Is the vehicle not enough? You have to punch it. Maybe you should have left earlier, all right? Maybe think about that. Think about your own safety, safety of others, you know? Speeding. Now, look at yourself. Got yourself pulled over, now you're late, all right? A man today was pulled over speeding, and when the police pulled him over, it turns out he had drugs in his vehicle. I just think about the parents, you know? I think about... Sure, he was 45, but where did this start? Oh, something must be going on at home, you know? You know, because marijuana is legal. He had drugs. He had narcotics. You see that news and you're like, oh, that's adorable. No. Meanwhile, you'll turn on the news, living in the States, and they'll just be, man in Kentucky found dead, just legs. We don't know where. We have no idea what happened to the top half. It is just legs. We're assuming it's a man. These could be any legs, really. We just sort of said man because of the size of the shoes. But while we're at it, let's just be on the lookout for anyone. If you see any top halves missing a bottom half, please call this hotline. No. You see it. You see it all around, even here. You know, come here, turn on the news, maybe read some news, and you see people angry, distraught. They're Canadians in Calgary, furious, right? Interviewing them, and they're like, I can't believe that our city, I can't believe that the province would put a sign right here. A sign right here, like a sign right here. I've parked here for years. What are they thinking? This is what happens when you lose connection to the people, all right? Meanwhile, in the U.S., Trump is trying to defund Elmo. I didn't do it. No, it's up for everybody. Bert, Ernie, Cookie Monster, anybody can get it. Nobody's safe. And so you see when you come here and you get a break, you know, you see people like upset about something, but it's not like an umbrella of an issue. It's just their issue. You know what I mean?
There's just something going on with them personally. That's refreshing. It really is. As small or as big as the personal problem is, it's nice, you know? It's nice to be able to talk to someone and get a sense of what's wrong with them. They're not having a good day. They're not happy, very angry or upset, but you're getting something from them that isn't this thing that it feels like no one can do anything about, you know? You know, like, met a man in Montreal, and we just casually started chatting, and he seemed like something was wrong, and I don't know what led me to do it, but I was just like, are you, like, how's your day going, you know? And he was like, she left. Meanwhile, in the U.S., if you ask someone how their day is going, depending on who you ask, depending on the state or city, you're gonna get a very different answer. But a lot of the people that I've asked, hey, how's your day going? Maybe I'm just at a store. They're ringing me up. I'm like, how's your day going today? And then they're like, oh, you didn't hear? You didn't hear? He's outlawing reading. It's over. No, it's rough because then, you know, we have Trump wins. I know y'all saw. And then he's talking wild. He's like, Canada's gonna be the 51st state, right? I didn't say it. I do think, though, that one of the reasons, even the dog, even the dog. Dogs don't even have an understanding of, like, geographical boundaries or borders, and even the dog. That's wow. Did y'all do that on purpose? I know you've been booing every time somebody says 51st state. Did you teach the dogs to also? I think one of the things that did happen with that is that he said it in a way that was so glib and was so dismissive of not just Canada's like autonomy, but also he didn't even try to woo you. And I think it's because it's a hard sell. You know what I mean? You're telling me you don't want to be part of the United States, you don't want to get shot for free? No, in the U.S., let me tell you something. In the U.S., the United States of America, you get shot for free. You only have to pay to take the bullet out. That's... You don't want to have the health care you have now, but not, you don't want No, you don't want your 12-year-old to read at a 12-month-old level. Why? You know, I look around, I ask, why? You don't want to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to an insurance company that will act like they don't know you when you call to fulfill your claim. Come on. You know, you don't want to make the only food you can afford, food that you kind of don't even question what meat it is after a while. All right. To each their own. You know, because look, it is a tough sell to be the 51st. I don't think that it would really work. One, because of the things that we're used to. You know, just in government alone, you have a parliamentary process. We have Congress, right? You have several parties. You have lots of parties to choose from. I say lots because we have two. So even 3 would be like, wow! You know, like more and more of the U.S. when you travel, it just feels like it just feels like as someone from the States, when I go to other places and I'm learning whether it's their culture, different processes of government or just customs or something, I always come off like I'm not used to anything. Like they took me on a date and I got to the table and I was like, salt and pepper. Because that's what I'm used to. That's the totality of the spice rack of American politics. You get your salt and you get your pepper. Meanwhile, y'all have paprika. You know. I'm not saying it's perfect. You know, you have these like 5 parties, only 3 are probably ever gonna win, but you get these like choices, these different pushes, you know. In the US, oof. We got Republicans, we got Democrats, and we got like Jill Stein.
Like I've been learning about your parties. I really didn't realize how much deeper it went as far as like the seats and the majority, and that no confidence vote is a pretty big thing. That's crazy. That's a no confidence vote. Okay. Look, because I found out about no confidence, and I was blown away. So basically, I know you live here. I'm not telling you what it is. I'm telling you how I found out what it was, right? Okay. So with the no confidence vote, which is basically, if I have it right, it's when you have your like leadership party in power, but everybody is like, they're bad. Like, this is horrible. I don't even know if they know what they're doing. And then you talk to them in interviews and they're like, look, we don't know, but we gonna figure it out. And so then you have no confidence in them. So then, you know, they get pushed to a no confidence vote. They get that no confidence vote. Then, you know, you have to rejig the government. Basically have to be like, all right, y'all are not it. Let's get somebody who is it, right? And that, as like someone from the States, that blows my mind. That you can just not have confidence. That you cannot have confidence in your leadership and you don't have to wait. Because trust me, it's not just this election. There have been plenty of elections throughout my entire life where people voted, somebody won, and the confidence dwindled within about 6 weeks. And then we were like, oh, in 3 years and some change, you're gonna find out how we the people feel. I hope you're ready for that. No, I don't think you can get people who are a part of a system that has like a parliamentary process that has no confidence votes and then give them what we have in the US. I don't know if that would go well to be like, no, I know we voted for him, but that was a different time, and we didn't know that he was out of his mind. We didn't know that he was completely. When he was talking, when he was running, all the brains seemed like they were in the head. And so people were like, I like what he said. I think, yeah. And then he won, and then we realized that the brains were gone. And now we have no confidence, and we should do something about that presently, right? Before there's no food on the shelves. A lack of choice was how I knew I was broke. Yeah, I mean, when I was like out on my own for the first time, I had a choice between these 2 types of cereals I could afford. One was like a little corn pop thing. Whatever it was the only ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. And then there was this other cereal that was like, okay, I'm positive it was for people. I'm 100% positive it was for people, but it was built like dog food, okay? It just had a very pellety look to it. It had when you poured it, it had the brrr of like pellet. Didn't help it also went in a bowl, right? And that was what I did back and forth because I was broke. And I just had these two choices. I could just go from one to the other, and one got me real like jittery and excited, and I usually crashed by like 2 p.m. And then the other one definitely felt like I should be barking if I'm eating it. Then I got a little bit of money in my pocket. Ooh, I got spoiled for choice. Then I didn't even know what to do. I'd buy some cereal and I'd be like, it's good, but it's not the best. It's fine. Completely forgetting it could have just been these two. You know, that's what it feels like. Look outside looking in, that you have like a whole parliamentary process. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm sure you have your problems. I get that. You don't tell anybody, but I'm positive that you have your own problems. I get it. And I understand people's frustration. I know that there's been strikes in Canada. I know that there are people that are worried about housing. A lot of the same things that people are worried about in other countries. It's not as if I'm projecting some like absolute heaven and haven onto you. I know that it's a country full of people and people have problems. It's just we have more. It's a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And I don't think that it would work, you know, because even with a prime minister versus a president, your prime minister still fits in that legislative branch, you know. There's a lot of things reining your prime minister in, no matter who they are. And a president we're coming to realize by accident is a king. That's a king. We thought we left, and we really did. We were like, we don't want a king. Get out of here, Britain. And Britain was like, all right, give it a couple hundred years. You'll want one of us. No, because we have this different branch, this executive branch where the president's power resides, that is deciding to not really pay attention to or heed our legislative or judicial branch, you know, because it's really the legislative branch that's supposed to decide if we defund Elmo. That's really their purview, but he was like, no, I'm the only one that gets to look like this. You most recently had a decision to make. You most recently had an election. And, you know, I was here before the election, now I'm here after the election, and I was never gonna tell anybody what to do. I did, while I was in Montreal and Ottawa, tell people to just like look across the fence. Just check if you like that. You know, because they always say that the grass is greener, but sometimes your neighbor doesn't have grass. Sometimes it's just a Buick on blocks. And that is tough. You know, because then our news would become your news. Because look, don't be wrong, like I said, I'm fully aware. And I also believe I'm open to the ideas that Canada has problems I'm not even aware of, right? Like there's a chance, I'm imagining, right? If you're in the right place at the right time for this bad thing to happen, if you go out into one of your beautiful parks and you where you're not supposed to be, you playing around, it's possible to get bit by a moose. Right? It's not all roses and bubbles over here. You can really get got over in Canada, right? You could get bit by a moose if you put yourself in that situation. You really stay in those neighborhoods, you know what I mean? If you're really trying to live that lifestyle, you know? That's what comes with it. But trust me when I tell you, you're not ready for daily U.S. news. Sure, you could get bit by a moose here, but just the other day, a man used an alligator to rob a liquor store. Which is one of the more effective robberies you can engage in, right? No, because you walk in to a liquor store, I'm assuming to buy some alcohol, make a night of it, you know? And then there are people in the US that are desperate. You know, desperate because we don't share the same social safety nets, we won't even share some of the same attitudes around a network of community the way that Canadians do as a baseline. I know not everybody agrees, and you have your conservatives, your liberals and everything, but for the most part, there's a genuine understanding that, like, okay, healthcare, we're gonna have that, we're gonna do our best with housing, we're gonna do our best with all these things, right? And in the US, it's mostly like, hey, get it how you live. And sometimes getting it how you live includes robbing a liquor store, going to where you know there will be cash, going there with an alligator that might be a pet. I have no idea. I truly don't know if this is a pet or if this is an alligator that he found, or if this is an alligator that he like going in on it with. He's like, look, if I get the cat, because look, I do like the idea of them being partners. I do like the idea of them getting together and being like, listen, all right, you like raw chicken, you like raw chicken thighs, okay? If I have cash, I can buy that stuff, I can give you some of that, so we'll split it in chicken thighs and cash. Cash to me, chicken thighs to you, just so that we're clear, right? So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pick you up like a puppy, right? But then I'm gonna grab the back of your tail, I'm gonna swing you around, right? And when I swing you around, I want you to be like, ah! Just really make a show of it, keep the mouth open, let them know what could happen if they don't act right? Because he didn't go in, this man did not walk in, hold it like a rifle, like anybody can get it. Hey, don't move. Right? No, this man came in, swinging gator at people, right? And people couldn't run out fast enough. Now, it was a mistake to start swinging it in the doorway because you really only want the actual cashier to be intimidated. Now, you've made 8 people think, all right, it's all of us against him, the alligator. You have more adversaries than is necessary. You know, then you try to get the cash and everything, but it's hard to get the cash because the alligator, he's not really thinking like a robber. Alligator was told to do his thing, so he doing his thing. You know, like, like that wiggle that they do, going as hard as he can, throwing hip, right? Like, alligators don't have booty, but if they did, he'd be twerking, right? Snapping and everything, which does make it hard to get the cash, right? Because now this cashier trying to put it all in his hand. This dude didn't have a bag. So now he just got to stuff cash in his pocket while holding on to the tail of the alligator. And the alligator, I don't know. I don't speak alligator, but I'm assuming the alligator is like, is this part of it? Because after a while, the alligator is being more difficult than helpful, right? Stuffing. Then he runs out, they call the cops and everything. And look, I can't imagine what it's like to be a cop that gets the call that there's someone robbing a liquor store with an alligator. I'm sure those cops were like, couldn't it just be a gun? No, you're not ready for news like that. Because I'm sure, look, there's property crimes, there's violent crimes everywhere in the world. You have your crime. But it seems like, from what I've been reading about your crime, that it does, and I don't mean this in like an insensitive way, but it does seem like most of your crime kind of like makes sense. Like you get to the bottom of it, and it's like, oh, he wanted what he had, and so he stole it from him, right? The U.S. has a lot of weird crime because a lot of our resources have been shut down, right? So some of the crime is not necessarily just to do the crime, it's just people doing what they think is necessary in their head that happens to be a crime. Like, a good example was, there was a man who called the police because he broke into this restaurant, right? Broke into the restaurant and I think he just wanted food. That's what I'm gathering from like the call. So he just wanted food. He called in to 911 and they were like, 911, what's your emergency, right? And he's telling them off top, look, okay, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. All right, I did break in here, get a little something to eat, make a little snack, all right? But somebody else is in here and y'all need to come quickly. Like, I'm all for a little burglary, but somebody in here being weird. Like, y'all need to come for real. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, please come arrest me. Because this is my thing as well, is that Canada would only become the 51st state by legislation or by force. It's not going to happen by legislation, because even if the more conservative counterparts of your government really wanted it, the people have made clear that they don't want it, right? And so then there would be steps taken, there'd be no confidence, there'd be all these things to stop that thing from happening. And the one thing that I don't think people are counting on is even if there was an attempt to do it by force, people think that Canadians don't fight. But your favorite sport, your favorite sport in the world, you have access to all the sports. You have access to all the sports. I understand it gets very cold here, but the one that you picked was the one where a fight could break out at any time. And not just like break out. Like sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes there's a clear, I don't really follow hockey because mainly I can't see it. I want to follow it so bad. Everybody seems like they're having a good time, but every time I've watched hockey, I've had to pretend that I know what's happening. You know what I mean? It's like being tone deaf watching like a singing show, like a singing competition, like watching X Factor tone deaf, and then you're just waiting for other people to cheer, so you're like, oh, they getting it, no. Yeah, actually, no, you're right, they bad. No. Anytime I've watched hockey, I've just seen the people's heads move. I've tried to move my head where their head moves, and I try to look at where I think they're looking at and everything. And then you hear the clicking and the clacking of the sticks and stuff. And sometimes it'll click clack extra, so I'm like, oh, the puck must be over there, but it's not. It's not at all. It's actually over here. I don't know what they're doing over there. And then somebody will be rammed into a wall, a clear wall, so you can see. I've never seen only in hockey and adult films have I seen somebody pressed up against glass like this. The way they... Wow. That, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, ooh, y'all don't think he gonna come through? No, and then you have the fights. And the fights are very interesting to me. Truly, because it's like, there's a strange energy to the fights. No, you never really know when they're gonna pop off, and sometimes there's a backstory. Sometimes it's like, oh, look, 3 games ago, you don't just have fights, you have drama with the fights. You have a real soap opera to follow. And then you see them and those gloves off. I remember the first time I saw it. They threw the gloves off and I was like, ooh, won't your hands get cold? And then they go swinging each other. And then what I really love is they grab the jersey for leverage. And missing, horribly, missing, nothing but missing. And really try to get close. Come here. Missing. But every once in a while, you get somebody with incredible balance and hand-eye coordination. They throw those gloves off, they grab them. You would think they weren't on skates. They swinging around and sliding, but they're still like, it's incredible. Anytime, anybody can get it. Incredible stuff. People really believe that Canadians don't fight, that they don't have fight in them. We didn't know you had booze, you know? But I knew because a while back, I saw a news story that took place in Canada, you know, trying to be international. And I saw this news story about a man who was woken up in the night when two burglars broke into his home and were trying to figure out what they could take. They clearly hadn't done a good job casing his residence. So they're just looking for whatever, right? And then he wakes up, and let me first say this. If someone breaks into my home and is looking for what to steal, I don't know if I'm gonna confront them immediately. I think I might try to come up with a plan. You know, maybe I'll pretend I'm a ghost. They break in, I go to the closet that's closest to a vent. I'm like, spirits live here, y'all better stop, you're gonna have to return it or something, like, you're gonna be haunted, you don't wanna be haunted, I don't care how big you are, you can't fight haunted, everything in here cursed, you don't want those problems, you know? Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe they're not afraid of ghosts. Maybe they don't believe in ghosts. Maybe they know it's me. Plan B. I'm gonna act like a bigger man. They haven't seen me yet. No? Lean around the corner. Hey! Don't make me put my killing shoes on. Yeah, you lucky I don't have my shoes on right, because if I put my shoes, everybody dying in here. Because that's plan C. To act like my own dog. You know? Lean into my phone, make a recording, put it on the ground, slide it down after I hit play. That way they think it's behind them. I'm probably gonna cough. Trying to bark makes me cough. And then, last resort, yeah, might have to fight them. No, I have to just run up on them and do what men do. And I have to roll up on them real quick and start biting as hard as I can. Yeah, please believe you're gonna wish it was a dog when I get done, all right? I brushed and I flossed tonight, so get ready. No, but these dudes, they broke into this guy's home and they had ski masks on, and I don't know about you, but if somebody already got the ski mask on, it just makes me feel like they're a professional criminal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got the ski mask on already, I'm like, uh-oh, this is real crime we're dealing with right now. And this dude doesn't hesitate at all. And all he got on is his shorts, by the way. He just like shorts, no shirt, anything, and he starts pushing them up against the wall, and he starts fighting both of them, and really swinging, and they're swinging at him, and he's taking some hits, but he's giving a lot. Just bow, 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 bow. He's like fight juggling them, because he'll hit one, and that one will fall, and then he gets to concentrate on this one for a second. Bow, 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 and then this one gets up. He's like, you get some too. Bow, right? And then their fight, he puts up a real fight to the point where at first they're ganging up on him. And then they're both like, look, I don't know how nice this apartment is. Maybe nothing in here is worth these lumps we're catching. And so then they try to leave. But he does keep punching them as they're trying to leave. He does just keep whooping ass as they're clearly turned around trying to exit now. He like trying to choke one from behind and kick the other one. And then they run out. They run out of his home. He successfully defended his castle. But then he does also leave. So then he left. I was like, uh-oh. And then you just see in the security camera in his garage, him drag one of them back in. And I was like, Normally, in the U.S., there's a sentiment around this sort of thing. Like, there's warnings. It's like, you know, there's yard signs. Don't come unless you're armed. Blah blah blah. Like, there's a very frenzied passion. There's a fever dream in the U.S. of legally being able to kill someone that comes into your home. We like it a lot. There are some people that are like, please break in. I want to kill you, right? And that is almost always so that the person who wants to do the killing can use a gun. They want to shoot someone. They want to be able to shoot someone. And this man, this Canadian, he didn't have a gun. He desperately wanted to use these hands. He brought them back into the, I don't even know what crime this is now. Like, this was burglary, and it has turned to kidnapping, I think. I don't know if it can still be self-defense if you dragging him back in. And dragging him by the top of the ski mask, too, so he over here kicking, fighting going backwards, right? And so then he brings that dude back in, punching, closes the door. This dude tried to get up against the door. He throws it back down and locks the door. And I was like, y'all done accidentally broke into the devil's house. That's crazy. And I think he had one of those things where instead of a key, it was like a combination thing. So as soon as you put in the combination, the lock will start to turn, because that's what's happening. Because now the dude who was the second burglar, he must have been running and realized nobody was behind him. So then he comes back and he trying to get in, and then this dude just keep relocking it, right? So then finally, you know, this dude just manages to get the ski mask off the guy, so now you see his face. Now his face is on the camera and everything. But then, I don't know how well this burglar could fight. It didn't seem like well at all. But he does finally like create like a little butterfly situation with his legs, which destabilizes the homeowner. So that guy falls to the ground. Then he goes for his own takedown on the burglar, but the burglar swings down, sits, and just has him in like a headlock, but not a headlock that's like effective. It looks like a headlock just so he can catch a break. You know, so when you see Trump talk about like a 51st state, I feel like if I worked at the White House, I would just bring an iPad and like, Mr. President, this is what they do.